The Honeymoon Miralda Project, a series of public art events taking place around the world from 1986 to 1992. It celebrates the symbolic marriage between the Columbus Monument in Barcelona, Spain, and the Statue of Liberty in New York City. A metaphor of cultural exchange, Honeymoon celebrates the union of two symbols that face each other across the Atlantic. This series of events will culminate in a wedding ceremony in 1992, the year of the 500th anniversary of Columbus' first voyage to the Americas.
Everybody does love a wedding. Weddings make people happy and they make people smile. And in Miralda's case, he has organized an international wedding that brings all different kinds of people in different communities together.
I thought the idea was fabulous, outrageous, conceptual art, impossible to accomplish. And the next thing I know, the engagement gown was hanging from the ceiling of the Javits Center.
In 1986, the couple celebrated their engagement at the Jacob Javits Convention Center in New York City. A 100-foot-tall polyester dress weighing over 1,000 pounds was specially made for Miss Liberty.
To the happy couple, Vivian Los Novios.
このドレスを作ったアントニ・ミラルダさんにインタビューしてみたいと思います。
The idea of just a marriage, an imaginary marriage between Cristobal Columbus Monument in Barcelona and Statue of Liberty in New York.
Nada más y nada menos que el compromiso matrimonial de Cristóbal Colón y Miss Liberty.
Columbus' gift to Miss Liberty was a very special TV engagement ring.
The band of it is formed by recycled Coke cans. During the centennial of the Statue of Liberty, Coca-Cola all over the world issued the cans with Liberty facts on the back. So Miralda collected them and recycled them into the band of the engagement ring. The stone, the diamond itself, is actually a very large video monitor, and it is encrusted with pearls.
His project manages to bring everybody in and allows them to participate. The gifts that were part of the trousseau were made all around the world and came from many different cultures.
The first gifts were made by a team of seamstresses from Terrassa, Spain, a town with a long tradition in the textile industry.
What weighs 800 pounds and stands 100 feet tall? Well, you ought to be thinking about a nightgown for the Statue of Liberty, of course. Channel 7's Dan Tashati says the giant nightie was hung today on the Miami-Dade downtown campus.
Sexy it is not, but big it is. 800 pounds of polyester, 96 feet tall. A mock nightgown for the Statue of Liberty. I say nightgown, actually it's a petticoat. They're hanging it in the atrium at the Miami-Dade Wolfson campus downtown.
Esta noche se exhibió en el College Comunitario del Miami-Dade, recinto del downtown, un colosal refajo nupcial diseñado especialmente para una gran dama.
A design contest for Columbus' wedding costume was held at Tokyo's Seibu's department store. An exhibition of Liberty stockings was also part of the event. In Barcelona, a procession and ritual ceremony commemorated the 100th anniversary of the Columbus Monument. And when a love letter contest was announced on Spanish television, thousands of people of all ages responded with letters, poems, and drawings signed by Columbus to his bride.
D'un cada continent, de cada país, replega aquells elements de color, de forma, de màgia, d'idea, d'espectacle, d'iconografies, per tal de reunir-los en una festa de menjar, en un ritual, en un ceremonial o en la màxima celebració que és el Honeymoon.
Valencia's International Jewelry Fair presented the couple with a pair of wedding rings. They contain seawater from Spain and the Americas.
Ritually, he has to accommodate both ends of the spectrum. He has to put both families at ease. It brings up the issue of mistrust between the, quote, new America and the old world. Miralda's project tends to try and take this distrust and do away with it, one, make the families come together in harmony, and break bread, so to speak.
In Paris, in 1989, Miralda created a prototype for the wedding cake in collaboration with more than 100 Parisian pastry chefs and art students. Made of sugar, eggs, cream, and chocolate, it was presented as a birthday cake for the 100th anniversary of the Eiffel Tower. A Catalonian business association asked Miralda to design a new gift for the monumental couple. Using an image from a 12th century mural in the Spanish Pyrenees, Miralda created a nuptial bedspread. It was carried by 100 people on New York's Fifth Avenue as part of the Columbus Day Parade.
I find the power of this new Statue of Liberty, Christopher Columbus piece, actually one of his best works, because it does involve almost everything that he has traditionally been identified with. You know, ritual, food, strong iconography, public event, you know, all the things that seem to make up Miralda's work.
A lot of his performances were based in the symbology of colors. He got famous in all the world through his colored food. With Miralda, one can say that the pure imagination has taken the power.
What I love about Miralda's works is whether they're happening as bread lines in Houston or wheat and steak events in Kansas City, is that they pull from local customs and local lore and put together events that everyone remembers because they are so colorful, entertaining, thrilling, and because they do, I think, the very important thing that art can do, they open our eyes to sort of the potential in everyday things for understandings about ourselves.
His multimedia approach to art was evident with the creation of El Internacional, a fully functioning restaurant which explored his idea of dining as daily ritual. A taste of things to come became apparent when a public ceremony was held to celebrate the unveiling of a full-sized replica of Liberty's crown on the roof.
I've always been impressed by his capacity to deal with kind of ritual culture. His capacity to both understand the original rituals and where he's deriving information, at the same time create this wonderful transformation, which makes it truly contemporary art.
In January 1990, the Liberty Bell Cape was installed in the Grand Hall of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. It was created in collaboration with 35 Philadelphia Mummers Clubs.
This cape is supposed to represent a gift from the city of Philadelphia to the Statue of Liberty herself as part of her trousseau.
The idea of the Statue of Liberty wearing a cape that turns out to be in the shape of a Liberty Bell is fantastic. It takes somebody from Barcelona to put two big American symbols together in that way. It seems to me that that's the very nature of art, is to get people to rethink symbols, to give new meaning to symbols, in this case, in a way to give them a kind of lyrical and humorous personality.
We're going to make that kind of assemblage, a collage of colors, of material, of texture, of visuals, of graphics.
He understood instinctively what the mummers were about when he began to talk about putting institutions together to celebrate what was fundamentally part of the community, particularly in Kansas City, that you could see the light dawn in the eyes of the mummers. They said, "We understand this man. We want to work with him." He had rather clearly settled upon the notion of using the old fancy captain's capes as the most appropriate vehicle for his notion of clothing as architecture.
The huge mummer's cape, and we mean a huge one, will be carried down Broad Street as part of the upcoming New Year's Day parade. It looks like, say, 35 mummer's capes Mayor Good was standing on today. Actually, it's one gigantic 60 by 100 foot mummer's cape sculpture that will be stitched together in January. Now, it's the Liberty Bell cape, the idea of the artist from Spain, Miralda, known for his large works of art. 35 segments were crafted by Philadelphia Mummers Clubs. The cape will be part of an international project in 1992 to mark the 500th anniversary of Columbus's voyage to the New World.
Miralda was invited to bring the Honeymoon project to the 1990 Venice Biennale. The symbolic gift of the city of Venice was a Liberty-sized gondola shoe, which sailed the Grand Canal on its way to the Spanish pavilion.
Miralda ha dut al pavelló espanyol tot l'aixovar de la núvia, el ram, els enagos, les mitges i ara també una de les seves immenses sabates. És el regal italià que no amaga la seva procedència veneciana.
When we formulate our fantasies about what is liberty, liberty doesn't look like a Chinaman. Liberty doesn't look like a Greek. You would never see her dressed in a dashiki or ewu, an African-type dress. You would never see her dressed as an Eskimo. Miralda lifting the cover on that and saying, well, we can dress her this way, we can dress her that way. We really are going to bring the point of this true marriage between the old world and the new.
Columbus Monument has emerged as the symbol for all the atrocities that America suffered with the arrival of the Europeans. Although Miralda's project goes far beyond the simplicity of the quincentennial celebrations, Honeymoon has been criticized for being part of them.
Era de mi interés de poder realmente invitar a todos los grupos y a todos los que están por descontado, y lo entiendo perfectamente, en contra lo que significa este señor. No es una boda entre dos personajes históricos, es una boda entre dos monumentos que significan muchas cosas.
In 1988, a project to build a peace pipe inspired by North American Navajo sand drawings did not take off. And when the BBC asked a group of Native Americans about the project, their answer was quite clear.
It has no meaning to us and comes out of a culture that doesn't reflect what we think is important.
La confrontación de estos dos símbolos que son opuestos por naturaleza, yo creo que crea una atracción entre ellos, ¿no? Son como los polos opuestos que se atraen.
Integrating Birmingham's traditional jewelry industry and Miralda's sense of ritual and participation, the UK's present was the Eternity Ring. Its 12 diamonds symbolize the European community. After being paraded through the streets and channels of Birmingham, the Liberty-size hollow ring was ceremonially filled with hundreds of human-size rings made by local play centers and schools.
Okay, let me just tell them that I'm going to be doing this while they work, so they're prepared.
对象是西班牙巴塞隆纳的哥伦布雕像。
Ahí está. Luis, ¿qué nos adelantas de esta historia de amor? ¿Y qué me tienes que decir del traje de novia?
Bueno, Denise, del traje de novia, tú sabes que tú te vas a embullar cuando lo veas.
June 1991, New York is again a honeymoon town. Liberty's wedding gown, 935 pounds of black and white synthetic fabrics, was hung at the Winter Garden of the World Financial Center. Developed in collaboration with students of the École des Modes of Paris, the gown's ornaments include Columbus fingerprints and a cape with Liberty's name imprinted in 27 languages.
Most people considered it a joke, but not one Spanish artist. News 4's Connie Collins explains.
The bridal veil, sewn with multicolored tulle in the shape of a dried codfish, was made in collaboration with the Adept Fashion School of Barcelona.
Rather bizarre, rather bizarre.
Also in display were the water wedding rings, designed by Chus Burres.
I just can't stand people getting away with stuff like this, you know.
And the hundreds of love letters that students from New York public elementary schools wrote to Columbus Monument on Liberty's behalf.
I must write this letter fast, for I haven't much time to spare. There are too many problems I have to deal with. I love you very much, and I couldn't think of anything better than marrying you. But I don't think these are the best of times.
Christopher, every time I want to remember you, I'll just look at my TV ring.
The Columbus edible belt was installed at the Holly Solomon Gallery. A present from the city of Ubrique in Andalusia, Spain, the 194-foot-long belt incorporates the name of food products from the Americas and Europe. The buckle, made of materials from a bullfighter's costume, has the shape of an eye with eyelashes made of bull and cow horns.
Take a look at that white cloth in the background. Does it help if we tell you it's part of something that weighs nearly 1,000 pounds, stands more than 10 stories high? A bird? A plane? Good grief, it's super dress, as big as Godzilla and nearly as ugly.
It makes a lot of sense because Christopher Columbus is like the past of America and the Statue of Liberty is the future.
Valencia's summer solstice of 1991. The 550-pound honeymoon jeans were dropped into the sea, sand-washed by the participants, and hung to dry. The jeans are a reference to the American way of life, as well as to the material itself, which was used for the sails of ships during the Middle Ages. The ceremonial night party at the beach included an aquatic version of Valencia's traditional fayas, a contribution by local artist Manolo Martin.
Of course, a lot of money had to be raised in order to produce this project, but all of it practically was funneled back to the communities that participated in the various events to pay the services of seamstresses, technicians, craftspeople, transportation, etc. But in fact, Honeymoon is a participatory art event. It would not have been possible without the literally thousands of volunteers all over the world.
December 1991, Sète, south of France. After 2 months underwater emerges one of the last wedding gifts, the collier Mediterraneus. A group of locals played traditional music and paraded the streets with 3 aluminum lighthouses, Sète, Genova, and Cadaqués, that were attached to the collier to symbolize the Mediterranean Sea.
Voilà un projet fou, complètement fou. Il faut être un grand artiste pour pouvoir se permettre une telle folie.
Valentine's weekend of 1992, Las Vegas. Where else would the wedding be?
Miralda chose Las Vegas as the site of his upcoming Marriage of the Monuments, not only because Las Vegas is the wedding capital of the world, but also because he says there's a monumentality here. He says Las Vegas is a city that has to do with giants. And he says it's a city of fantasy.
Friends of the bride and groom gathered at the teapot shower ceremony held at McCarran's International Airport. The couple's China tea service, a present from Marseille, France, was designed by Titina Maselli.
Es una locura total, como lo es esta ciudad, como lo es este aeropuerto. La locura, en la locura hace poesía. El talento de Miralda es el talento de la acumulación de locura sobre locura.
Many new wedding gifts were on display around the city. Liberty's wedding shoe, a present from the city of Petrer, Spain, was installed in the hall of the Children's Library, along with Liberty's Grand Garter, made by a group of children from Las Vegas. At the Barrack Museum, the Honeymoon jeans and the Bulletproof Heart t-shirt, a present from Barcelona, were part of an exhibition which also included a giant handkerchief from St. Gall, Switzerland.
Volunteers spent most of the afternoon at the Fashion Show Mall sewing together Lady Liberty's earrings. The earrings are made of $100 chips donated by the Mirage Hotel.
The Mirage's contribution will be 6,000 chips, and we're using $100 chips for a $600,000 single earring. The other earring will be composed of at least that many chips and like values. So this is certainly precious jewelry.
Also at the Barrack Museum was the Valencia fan, made by Juan Riolid and Pepe Martinez Navalon, which features Valencia's renowned oranges. From the Jewish community of Buenos Aires, Argentina, came a ketuvah, the traditional Jewish marriage contract, which was created by Mirta Kupfernick.
A proposal of communication, of love, of people that can be at least perhaps talking to each other without problems.
The Las Vegas Reed Whipple Studio Theater was transformed into a fully functioning wedding chapel. The theater also housed the Sentimental Museum, an homage to Las Vegas wedding traditions.
Finally, this evening, all the preparations are underway for the big wedding day, and we emphasize big here. You see, the Statue of Liberty and the statue of Christopher Columbus are getting married.
The fountain esplanade of Caesar's Palace had been the elected site for the wedding ceremony, but a week before Valentine's Day, Caesar's Palace decided to pull out of the project.
Este proyecto me ha estimulado muchísimo constantemente, porque constantemente ha sido siempre un gran no. Esto no se puede hacer, esto no se puede realizar, esto es un imposible, y esto ha sido la fuerza que me ha dado constantemente.
Miralda then moved the ceremony to Red Rock Canyon State Park, 20 miles north of the city.
Miralda!
Yep.
The largest and perhaps most misunderstood wedding.
Maybe.
Two pelvises created to scale represented the bride and groom. Columbus, made of bronze, came from Pietrasanta, Italy, and liberties covered with rice from Marseille, France. The trunk of 20 white stretch limousines offered food from the Americas and the old continent. The Cobla of Blanes, Spain, played traditional Catalan music, while large projections covered the canyon rocks with honeymoon facts and memorabilia. The picnic-like ceremony legally bound the two monuments with a prenuptial agreement which was read to the participants.
Liberty and Columbus, through this agreement, desire their children to be united as one family, bringing together all persons, regardless of their differences, to live together in this one household called Earth.
Next day, the tablet piñata, a gift from the Junior Art Center at Barnesdale, Los Angeles, was broken. The piñata contained candy and messages written by the school children of Las Vegas. On the way to their honeymoon, the allegorical couple stopped in Texas, where some of the wedding gifts were marched in Galveston's Mardi Gras parade. Other planned stops include Miami and the Caribbean island of Trinidad.